So I'll call the meeting to order. Bill Tiegelman, the South Rappahannock Chairman, Steph Ritter, and Andrew Kohler, and Sharon Pierce, who is not feeling well, won't be here tonight. So it's just the four of us. So with that, I will call the meeting to order, and we'll have the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next order would be the agenda. Anybody on the board have anything they wish added to the agenda? I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda. Motion. I hear you. Motion from Mr. Kohler, second from Mr. Tiegelman. All in favor? Aye. Okay. That taken care of? Minutes. The newly revised minutes.
There we go.
If you haven't, hopefully everybody's seen minor changes, but yeah, I've got that.
Phil, do you need a most recent copy?
Yeah, you're going to send me that. I may have it.
It came in like around 4.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine with me. So his. Okay, does anybody have any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion, accept the minutes as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
The motion is second, all in favor? Aye. Minutes are accepted. Okay, next we move on to public hearings. First item on the agenda is SUP 22-0803, Musselman and Carnes, accessory dwelling unit, tax map 48-8A. Let's see here. Okay, the Musselmans and Carnes have applied for an accessory dwelling unit for their property located at 4598 FT Valley, Perryville, identified by tax map number 48-8A. The property is 25 acres in size and is zoned agricultural and conservation. This use is pursuant to 170-36A and subject to additional regulations of 170-62G. The application went to the Planning Commission and was approved. The paperwork all appears to be in order. There was a, I believe we all received an email from the Lukes stating their support.
Would be good.
And Michelle, do you have anything to add to the staff report?
No, sir.
Okay, so the staff report is, finds no problems. Would the applicant like to make a statement?
We don't have anything further other than answering all the questions that you had for us.
Okay, does anybody have any questions of the applicant?
No, I went there, I thought it looked great.
Yeah, it's, I did not visit this one, but I looked at pictures and Googled it, and the building's there. The addition is minor and makes it a useful structure. And The paperwork is all in order,
That always makes it easy.
and thank you. And unless there are no further questions, and is there any public comment from anybody in the audience? In the back.
Diane Bruce, Sperryville. Are you doing the Musselman one?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no further public comment, I will actually, first I will open the public hearing because I did fail to do that. And hearing no comments, I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion from the board.
I move we accept the, accept the proposal.
We have a motion to accept. We have a second.
Second.
We have a second for the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes.
Thank you.
You can drive home in the
Thanks
rain
for
now.
coming.
Make your way home very carefully.
All right, how about
Okay, now the second public hearing is the Harmony Manor B&B LLC, tax map 28-52F, bed and breakfast. Before we get into the public hearing, I want to explain what basically is going on in this situation. The applicant and their attorney contacted me. They were originally going to represent themselves and then decided to hire an attorney to represent themselves. He contacted me and asked for a continuance because he was not going to be available on this evening, and he also it was not allowing him enough time to look over the information and put together a presentation. And so, let's see here, let me get this right. Under the county code 170-55, part D, any time limits specified by this section may be waived by agreement between the issuing authority, who may act through the zoning administrator, and the applicant or other applicant's agents. There was a 90-day time limit on this to make a decision, which we would go over if we continue the hearing to next month. But by mutual agreement, that can be overlooked, and that's basically where we're at. So they made a reasonable request, and we've accepted that. So I'm going to open the public hearing, and if there's anyone here that doesn't want to come next month and wishes to make a statement, we will allow you to make a statement, and then I will ask the board to make a motion to continue it until the January meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a statement that I will be able to attend next week, so I think probably just best to
It'd be next
have
month.
I'm sorry, yes, next month, January, fourth Thursday, is that
Yeah,
right?
that is what we're-
And I will come then and make a statement, so it would just be all part of
Yeah,
the
that,
same
and that would
consideration.
make it much easier on us.
That's
to
fine,
have
that's fine.
that, and
I was unaware of this last minute thing,
Yeah,
but I was.
it was, like I said, it was last minute, but it.
That's fine, and I will return and speak then, that's fine.
Okay, well, that being the case, I will now open the public hearing to anyone that wishes to speak.
Diane Bruce, Sperryville. This is the piece of property that's out across from the high school, is that correct?
Right next to the co-op.
Right.
Yeah.
The big house back there.
Yeah.
And I read the, all of the paperwork and that kind of thing. And I really guess I want to address just a general thing as opposed to anything specific. This property, this house, when it was built about over 20 years ago, the owner was told he could not use it for anything commercial. It had to be just a home. But he was using it for a wedding venue. The Board of Supervisors subpoenaed him twice to come to their meetings and to explain to him that this building could never be used for anything but a home, no activities. So subsequently, the property was sold, somebody else bought it, probably a different BZA and a different board of supervisors, and that owner came in and asked to have a 2-room B&B. And I can't imagine why it got approved, because that was never supposed to be anything but a home. But it got approved for 2 bedrooms. Now it's back, and maybe it's been back one more time. Maybe it's already a 3 or 4 bedroom, and now they want a 5 bedroom. And I just want you to understand that for over 20 years, this property is what I call creep and crawl. They get a little bit, and then somebody comes and buys it, and they say, oh gee, we didn't know we couldn't do that. And then you feel sorry for them and say, okay, we'll put these restrictions on it, and you can do it. And it just keeps going and going and going. That's what I'm opposed to. On that same property on the other side, on the far side of Blue Rock, is the big white house that the owner, another different owner, built for herself for a private dwelling. It sat there unfinished for years. She moved away, sold the farm. And now the owner has come and requested that it be a B&B, which it got approved. It should never have been approved. The owners were told in both cases those houses were just houses. And now it's being used, I guess, for a B&B, and it looks to me like there's been a new addition put on it. I don't know if there are any building permits, but it's bigger. And I just think that it's creep and crawl. You know, give them an inch and they'll take a mile. And they keep coming back. Maybe it's new owners. Maybe you feel sorry for them. But it has to stop. The road to that property is terrible. The entrance to it is terrible. And I just do not feel like you should have any obligation to accommodate them. Now, I'm sure there's some legal things that I don't know anything about. This is just general. We see it happening all over the place. The same thing with the kennel out at Sperryville. That started out being a...
I'm sorry, that's another issue. Please stay with this issue.
Well, I'm just talking about in general. how you get-
We're not talking in general. This is a public hearing on
one
a specific
subject,
subject,
that's
and you have to stay with
Coming
the
up
subject.
tonight too.
I understand. Well, anyhow, I hope that you don't get weak and just say, oh, well, he's a nice guy, and you know. The place looks terrible. You drive out the road, and the leaves are off the trees. It looks like going over the Front Royal. There are houses everywhere. The owner has more property up behind the house. He's taken the trees down. He's going to develop up there. It's going to stop. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Does anyone else wish to comment? Okay, we will, now I'm going to ask the board to, for a motion to continue the hearing until January 25th, I believe. That's the fourth
I so
Thursday, or we'll continue it to the Thursday, the fourth Wednesday of January, which I believe is the 25th.
Here, one or the other.
So
Oh, in January will be a Wednesday and not a Thursday?
This is
no,
only
this,
Thursday.
we are on a Thursday because during the Christmas season, otherwise our meeting actually should have been next week, but between Christmas and New Year's, we don't.
Understood, just to make sure I got it.
This is bad enough time to have a meeting.
Other things are going on Wednesday, so we couldn't go back exactly.
I got it, thank you.
Okay.
Just want to make sure I had it clear, thank you.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to
I so moved.
continue? So moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion is passed. The hearing will continue till the January meeting. And if anybody wants to leave, feel free. We don't want to hold you here, particularly in this weather. Okay, under new business, we have an appeal application from Charlotte Wagner. My paperwork out here. Okay, we have got a notice of violation from the zoning administrator for a violation for a piece of property that is agriculture that the zoning administrator feels needs a special use permit for use as a kennel. And that was sent on October 25th. Actually, the violation was sent to the property owners, who are not the people that are using the property. The Moore and McNears own the property, and it's Charlotte Wagner that is utilizing the property on a lease basis. So she filed the appeal on November 28th, and the letter was originally sent on October 25th, and there's a 30-day response period to appeal it, but, and there's my, no, this one here, and then more copies. Anyways, but looking at the application, and basically, county administration, Gary Curry, sent an email out saying that he felt that it had gone beyond the time limit. So what we need to do is decide whether, in fact, that would be the case.
Help me sit here, Stan.
Okay, so, but looking through the Virginia Code, and quite honestly, I checked with our legal counsel, Mike Lockaby, who's down in Roanoke, and he sent me information, sent me references or whatever, and Virginia Code 1-210 is a code that deals with computation of time. And you all are happy of it, and under section E of that code, it says, when an act of the General Assembly or local governing body, order of the court, or administrative regulation, or order requires, either by specification of a date or by a prescribed period of time, that an act be performed or an action be filed on a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday, or any day or part of a day on which the state or local government office where the act to be performed or the action to be filed is closed, this act may be performed or the action may be filed on the next business day that is not a Saturday, Sunday, legal holiday, or day in which the state or local government office is closed. So, the violation was filed on the 25th, which would have made the due date for the appeal on the 24th, which was Thanksgiving Day. And that was a 4-day holiday. Actually, it started on Wednesday at noon, and the next day of business was the 28th, and that was the day she filed the appeal notice, or the appeal request. So what we need to decide is that did she or did she not meet the requirement on the filing? And that's going to take a vote.
One issue, I actually don't have any problem spending the time. The problem I have is the issue of the owners of the property not having signed the notice of appeal. And I'm trying to find the
Okay, and
specific requirements for that.
And I think, and we don't have our legal authority here, but she being the DC of the property, I could probably find it in here someplace, but the person that is leasing a property is permitted to file. It's the same thing as someone who's purchasing a piece of property and trying to get a change in zoning or whatever or variance, that they as the purchaser can file the application. So I think she's okay there. And there's no place in reading the requirements for the filing of the application, I don't see anything that says that the owners are required to sign off on the request. Okay.
Well,
Now, and there is one other issue, and this also is possibly a factor, and that is that Charlotte's company is an LLC. And I'm not sure, actually the question that needs to be answered is the property in the name of the LLC, or is it in her name? Because if it's in the name of the LLC, then the code requires that the paperwork be filed by an attorney.
She has Caninology LLC.
It's Caninology LLC, but she purchased the property, but lots of people that have LLCs, they may, that has to do with the company, not necessarily the property. She may be the, there's no title in here as far as, who owns the property.
Well, except that she stated that the Maury's.
Well, actually, yes, excuse me, that property, yes, the property is actually owned by the McNear-Maury family to her. But she is leasing the property, but if she's leasing it as the LLC, then she may, that may cross that line as far as who files the paperwork. And
Yeah, I think that rule's gonna come out and bite us, but this might be.
well, I mean,
Nibble.
quite honestly, I mean, if in fact that is a question that needs to be answered, we can table this item until we get the answer to that, because that may be, that's something we need to know that it's not provided in here. And at the same time,
Ask for the signature on the application.
I don't know, I don't see where that is required. So we can't make that up. But I do have a question for Michelle as far as the, on the zoning not zoning, but the appeal application on item 2, where it says a written statement specifying, then A is itemization of numbered paragraphs each and every, the way it reads is, itemization in numbered paragraphs each and every ground for appeal subsection A of Virginia Code 15-2-2311. And it says no grounds for appeal will be considered by the BCA if it is not included in your notice of appeal. I'm wondering about the fact that the numbered paragraphs apparently is a requirement, but that is not a requirement in 15.2-2311. So whether can we require that, because her letter of appeal does not meet that standard, but is that our standard? Because I couldn't find it in the state code.
This application was designed and created by a former BZA member who was also an attorney.
Who what?
By a former BZA member who was also an attorney.
Oh, great.
But it also, down at the bottom though, it says revised on 3/11/22. So was this created by somebody It was no longer on the,
No, at the time, I put a new, date sample on the bottom of it just so we can keep the forms we're using up just as a reference. But this has been the appeal form for years.
oh, because quite honestly, because since I've been on the board, there has never been, actually the only appeal I'm really aware of was the Sperryville sign, and that was when I first came on, that's when you first came on, that was your first introduction. And I never saw the application on that one. So this is the first time I actually seen an application. And bringing that up, it would be helpful for the board members to have copies of all of the applications so that they're aware, because you have made some changes, I think recently or whatever, but if the changes are made, to distribute that to the board members so they're aware of the changes in what the present application looks like would be helpful.
Okay.
But anyway, back to the subject at hand. What are we gonna do with this? Because, like I said, we could vote on it piecemeal as far as, yes, part of it's, acceptable, but there's another part that's not, or we could just table it. And are there any other questions that any of the board members have on the application? Because I think, like I said, the question I have, and I think you agree, is that we've got to know if she can't represent the LLC because it's an appeal. That's
Well, and the
the
other
state code.
question is
So,
whether or not you can represent the Morris.
yes, okay, yes,
That's
absolutely.
Without their signature, right?
Okay, yes, and that would be a question needing answering also. So I would, if those are questions that need to be answered, and you need to write those down so I can.
And, if she's gonna redo the application, she may have to do, she needs to cite, she needs to be more specific.
I have a question. That's what she's doing there. Seems more like a school, not a place to board animals.
Well, this is not the place or time for that, Bill. We've got to concentrate on the application.
Okay, well, I mean, she is making that point here.
Well, and we're not discussing
Merits
that part of the application.
Okay.
No, we're not.
I just
discussing
found out, I
it's
didn't realize that.
it's
Go ahead.
the structure, whether she's
You're in
meeting the
charge.
requirements of the application, the form.
Okay, yeah.
What needs to be on
I'm
the
board.
board, so.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. We're here. Yeah, as far as I can see, it looks good, right? This will go as the addenda, and they have.
Okay, so right now we have questions on whether she met the time limitation, what is the status of the LLC, who owns what, and the owner's consent. And just asking Michelle also is because basically the way it reads, you approve the application when it comes in as far as the content. And-
This application was not handed me when it was submitted, it was handed to the front office, and then it was later provided to me. And then that's when I passed it straight on to you.
Okay, and well, then, that's another question, I mean, and it's not a big deal, but the wording on it sort of indicates that it goes to both the zoning administrator and the BZA at the same time, which you did do, because you immediately emailed a copy to me, because we didn't have a secretary at the time. But there's also, then it's a question of who makes the decision on the required documents, and that it would be or the required information, because it would be very difficult, if it came to me or whatever, I didn't know what the required information was, and that's why I just asked you the question, because there's some things, you know, the requirements on the application, which I've never seen, I don't know, actually, I don't know what they say. Because like I said, it says, you know, it says number, you know, it has to be numbered, and,
Grounds, I'll have to-
and you may not know either, so that, you know, that may be, we may agree and say that that's a moot point, because we don't know what it means, and we'll move on, but, in this case, particularly on appeals or whatever, we want to make sure we
Here's what it says.
dot the i's and cross the t's.
Okay, that,
It's
my,
2A. This is
Yes, yes, and if we don't know what that means and can't figure it out, then we don't worry about it, and we just take, I mean, if she, you know, she presented information, her side of the appeal, and is that adequate or not? I mean, that, like I said, I don't really know, because it's the first shot for me on one of these, and I think everybody on the board, and I think perhaps Michelle. So I guess what I need to do in this case is I will contact Mike Lockerbie and,
you know, are there,
and present it to him, you know, present him the information and what we've got or whatever, and let him sort of give us an interpretation, and we'll go with that.
okay,
But at the same time, we need to contact her, or no, and even on the other information, I'll contact him on that. And based on that, I may contact her and let her know what information she's going to need to provide.
but here's one
Because
idea.
Michelle can't do that now because she's out of the loop.
Can we ascertain from what we have the number of grounds that need to be enumerated? I mean, are there 3 there that you can see, or 2, or
Basically,
if
it's
there's
just
one,
one.
there's no need?
It's just one there. It's a,
Well, then I don't understand how, I mean, just
I
to make
don't
an
either.
outline, you need 2.
I don't know. That's what we need to find out.
Okay.
So that's what, so I will,
But
I'm
there, I
looking
had
for
one
now-
other question, actually, when I was just going over this afternoon, I looked up section 170-70, which is accessory uses and structures. And section A says accessory uses and structures are permitted in any zoning district unless qualified below. And it's not in that exactly. But only in conjunction with, incidental to, and on the same lot with the principal use. So I don't know what the lot there is, but I'm guessing it's a different lot than.
well, but and
So
maybe Michelle can answer this. It's not, it's a small portion of the property that she's leasing from the McNears, I believe. In that she's apparently leasing some other pasture land also, that's where she's got her horse, and she's got sheep or goats or something over there. But and she may at times be using this area for pasture land or whatever. So and that would be helpful to have a plat to show exactly the area of the violation within, because it's on I'm assuming it's on a larger plat, and it's a very small portion of that plat or whatever, and what size, and where that location is.
Now, are we absolutely certain that when we say a lot, we mean a lot is delineated on the legal papers, or is a lot the property that a single person owns? It's
A lot is a lot. A lot is, a parcel and a lot are the same thing, and it's, the boundaries are on the plat maps.
Okay,
And so the violation, and then the tax map is applied to each one of those plots, so that's applied
so
to.
that has to be, those are the boundaries specifically we're talking about. when we're talking
No,
about.
no, in this case, we would be granting if she applied for it, I'm assuming it would be for that small portion of that property that is on her right of way, that is part of that plat. Because the reason she has the right of way, my understanding is that that's where the drain field is for her property.
Ah, oh, I remember.
Oh, so it could be
mentioned that.
part of the same lot.
It's part of McNear's
She has
property.
deeded, she has
And
deeded
McNear's
access.
McNear's owned the whole piece, and she bought her portion from the McNear's, but the drain field is on a different portion of it, so she has a right-of-way on that property.
It's called I have that, well, the exact same situation, and it's called, at least I think it's called deeded access. So she
Right.
technically has a deed to the property on some
Okay.
level, so, you know.
Right, so we've got, like I said, we've got questions here that need answers before we can make this decision. So, as I said, we need a motion to table this to the next meeting, and we will get the answers to these questions, and based on those answers, then we can make the determination on the
Okay.
public hearing.
I move that we table this until the next meeting. Or until we get answers.
Well, that I'm sure we get the answer from this.
To gather information. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, so we've tabled that. Okay, now we move into,
Oh, can I just, for clarification on this, the things that we're requiring, or need answering is
Can
whether
you speak
or not.
up just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, the things that we're requesting information on or needing to know about are whether or not the LLC is.
Leasing the property.
right, how that's associated with the process.
Whether or not she has an attorney, the issue of the 90 days.
If there is an LLC, she needs an attorney, we should tell her.
Yes, and in fact, that's on the application.
Oh, okay.
The 90 days, do we have a decision, we could make a decision.
I don't think, at this point in time, we're under, I'm not sure what the time constraint is on that. There's a 30-day,
Yeah, I think it's next week, or,
but
11/21 here.
But I
Oh, no,
think that
Received
requirement,
November 28th.
oh, no, that's a different 30 days. The 30 days for a decision, I believe, comes after the public hearing. After we have the public hearing, then we have 30 days to make a decision.
So now we're
But
just
we've got, right
deciding.
now, we haven't even scheduled the public hearing because we're
That's
not
what
sure
we
that we
decided.
have a complete application.
Right.
So the process, technically, the process doesn't start until you have a completed application.
okay, and then issue of whether or not the Morris should have signed the
Right.
appeal. And then we need a plat of the lot to see if 170-70 is applicable.
Right,
And
and-
if it's not, then
And that's because Michelle is filing the notice of violation, that's basically her bailiwick to determine exactly where the violation exists.
okay.
Okay, so
So
we're ready.
those are what I have.
Okay,
Okay, great. Okay, so we're moving on.
okay, so let's get organized. And get Michelle home.
Okay, I would like to move that Ron remain as chair of the BZA. I
Well,
make
first
that
I'll open
motion.
I'll open the nominations first. So we're accepting nominations for the chairman.
I'm nominating you. I like the way you do it.
Okay, Bill's.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. We did this wrong last year. I will get it right this year. You don't need seconds on nominations for these positions.
Oh,
So
okay.
we have a nomination all in favor of the nomination,
Aye.
say aye. So the nomination is me. Okay, next is the vice chairman.
You know, Sharon
And-
agrees, maybe she would,
Let me, 'cause she called me tonight also.
okay.
So, what we have here, because these positions are kind of like mutual agreement anyways, as far as who wants to do what. But she has said that she would be willing to take the planning commission
Okay, fine.
seat.
Great.
Oh, Sharon?
And Sharon said yes.
Oh, that's good.
And
'Cause I had
so, and
promised.
because, well, because, and I'm sure Steph would be, just really hate to give it up, because she loves going to all these meetings. Because when you get that position, I mean, you're what, doing 3 meetings a month, so it's not easy. And quite honestly, and for that position, I think it's better to
Switch it
to
out.
rotate it.
Yeah, and
So-
Sharon's done it before.
And, yeah, she's got a background. So she
So I
might be
think
good.
she'd be great.
Okay, so,
So I'm off the hook. I promised her when she took it last year that this year I'd take it if,
I know, but,
and so now I'm off the hook, thanks for
Yeah,
that. Not that I wouldn't want to do it, but I mean, thank you.
okay.
because you're gonna, we have another position.
We can do this, think about next year, there's always another year.
Okay, so, we're needing a nomination for vice chair, and, I would nominate Steph.
Okay.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay, that's two. Representative of the Planning Commission.
I nominate Sharon.
Okay, any other nominations? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. That's taken care of. Okay, now we come to the toughy one. The secretary.
Uh-oh.
Is there anybody that is willing to be the secretary? And, you know, it's
Well,
it's not all that hard, and
No, I'm sure it's not that hard, it's just that things like, something came up tonight and said that copies have been made to the secretary. Oh, there's another thing I hadn't heard about.
oh, that would, yes, on
So I mean,
appeals,
this should come down in the.
on appeals, yes, but it's, you know, it's not like you're on your own.
Yeah, right. That was-
So, yes, I mean, according to the, you know, the job description, it's your responsibility, but, you know, we'll work out as a team and take care of it. But they have to, particularly on paper service or whatever, there has to be a name to put on the paper service. It can't be multiple names or whatever. So it's got to be, you know, served to an individual, and that's,
Me.
yes. And I don't believe there's any record of secretaries of BZAs ever being prosecuted or spending time in prison for failing to do something related to that activity.
Yeah, our defense is, I read the law on it, that we're immune as long as any decision we make is debatable. That is a pretty low bar.
Okay.
Our mere presence here is proof that it is, so.
Okay, so I will accept the nomination for the secretary.
I nominate Bill if he's willing to.
Okay, I'll.
It's only a year.
Okay, okay. I'll try it.
Okay.
It didn't not start until January, right?
Right.
Okay.
Hearing, any further nominations? Hearing none? All in favor? Okay. We need a secretary. Now, in the past, we have had the FOIA officer actually be attached to the secretarial position, but I think this time around that we can separate that out for educational purposes, and I would nominate Andrew Kohler to be the FOIA officer. It's not all that hard, and you'll learn what you need to know.
The most basic important things.
That's right, and this is another question for Michelle, is that the county supposedly was at one point in time having annual meetings for the FOIA situation, and I guess the pandemic kind of took that down, but there hasn't been any training sessions, and I will discuss that with the county manager or whatever, and that you're required by the state to complete it's a course, but there are other FOIA officers in here, and it's on it may be on a 2-year basis now. I can't remember, there was a change in that. But anyways, the county needs to put together the opportunity, and you just go to that, and it's actually very educational. And all right. So, now, did we vote him in yet, or did I?
He says that now until
Did I wander off?
I was hoping
We
he'd
wanted
skip
to-
that part.
That's all.
Okay,
All in favor?
we have a nomination, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You can, when you're rocking the babies, you can, you go over the FOIA shares at the same time.
Yeah,
thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay, and now we go to the meeting schedule.
All right.
We have to, on an annual basis, decide the meeting schedule, which is normally on the 4th Thursday of the month until we get to November, December. And in November, it would be on the 16th, which would be before Thanksgiving, and basically the same schedule as we got this year. Yeah, it would be, the 16th and the 21st will be Thursdays. So if everybody's in agreement with that, I'll take a motion to accept the meeting schedule.
I so moved.
So moved. Second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Done. I think that's it. Oh, no, we missed one. Oh, no, we didn't.
No, I don't think so.
That was, yeah, we got them all. Okay.
You can call for
That
the,
being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second?
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Go home.
Watch out for the deep water out there, man.
Okay, so-
If I get there back into some deep water, I didn't say.